Good afternoon, fellow patriots. This is Matt Shea, and welcome to Patriot Radio, broadcasting live from deep inside the heart of the future Liberty State. Brought to you once again by On Fire Ministries, in the legacy of Dr. Stan Monteith, bringing you the story behind the story and the news behind the news, where it's not about right or left, it's about right and wrong. It's about our hope not being in man, but in Jesus Christ. About not ending in prayer, but moving to action. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Father, deliver us from the evil one.
Welcome to Patriot Radio.
Good afternoon, fellow patriots. This is Matt Shea, and welcome to Patriot Radio today. A whole bunch of things happening in Syria that we need to explain, but really, the important question, Christians in Syria, also moons over Miami or drones over New Jersey, and finally, it's been admitted, there were in fact federal agents there on January 6th. And today our guest is going to be Pat Wood with Technocracy News, talking about the implications of AI in the future and the sudden new friends of President Trump, Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg. Here at Patriot Radio, we bring you news before everybody else so that you and your family can be prepared for what is ahead, in fact, what's already upon us. But no fear, we were made for this. And thank you to our Patriot TV audience. We're broadcasting 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday and Sunday on the Patriot TV network nationally. And if you don't know Patriot TV, there are many great hosts on there. Check it out. It's a great source for your information and for your education as well. Also, you can subscribe to us on Rumble and follow us on Telegram for real-time intelligence analysis and breaking news. And I'm talking breaking like within 2-3 minutes of that stuff happening. So especially in the run-up to the inauguration, you're going to want to follow us on Telegram. Also, just reaching out to everybody that needs prayer during this holiday season, please contact us, and we would love to pray with you, regardless of what you're going through, so that, well, we're one Christian body all together, and no one's alone over the holiday season. And that brings us now to your encouraging word from the Word, James chapter 4, verse 17. Now, when I read this, it probably isn't going to be encouraging, at least to start, but it should be, at least if you're doing the right thing. If you're not, maybe then it won't be. But if you're doing the right thing, it should be. And I think that it's important for everybody watching today and listening online and across the entire Pacific Northwest that we are told, and we can listen to God. We are told what to do in the scriptures, and a lot of people focus on what we shouldn't do or can't do. But it's more than that. When we come to the cross, we don't just stop at the cross. Jesus says, pick up the cross and follow him, which implies a journey from the presence of Jesus Christ and Holy Spirit and Father in our lives and moving to a knowledge of who they are, their true character. And so there are some things that God asks us to do in our walk, in our destiny. Some people don't even think they can hear from the Lord. By the way, if that's you, please go back to that prayer QR code and click that. We'll pray for you. But there's some people that don't even think they can hear from God, or they don't even think they have a destiny. But the scripture is very clear. We all have a destiny, and God wants us to walk in it, and he wants to order our steps. In other words, he wants to tell us what his heart is on the matters of the day or matters of our family or beyond that. And so James 4:17 says, so for one who knows the right thing to do and does not do it, for him it is sin. Many people limit that just to what is in Scripture as don't do this, don't do that. But actually it's more than that. If God's called you to do something, he's called you to a specific place or a specific ministry, and you haven't done that, but you know it's what his heart is, that also is sin. And this isn't a condemning thing. It actually should be an encouraging thing. For this reason, this is why it should encourage us to seek his heart. God is not hiding the ball. Oh, well, guess what I've got in my pocket for you? He's not hiding it. What God is doing is he's saying, I have a destiny for you. I want you to seek it. Ask me, talk with me, commune with me. And he will expose that destiny. He will show you where he wants you to go. And that should encourage all of you who may be stuck, or feel stuck at least, this holiday season. But it also is something that is a covering for difficult times, that we know that God orders our steps. We just need to follow him. And that brings us now to your daily intelligence briefing, coming to us from the globalist front.
The future is built by us. We have the means to make progress on the global agenda.
You know, every time I hear that voice, it's just so creepy. Sawyer in here in the studio believes it's creepy too, every time we hear it, but they put it together because it is kind of stunning. Is that really what we want in the future? A globalist agenda? Well, Pat Wood's going to be talking about that here shortly. But Google unveils, what could go wrong, by the way, an AI agent that can use websites on its own. And this comes on the heels of a test where AI was trying to protect itself from deletion. Skynet, anyone? More on that here in a few minutes. That brings us to the China front. The Chinese continue this massive exercise, the largest since 1996, off of the coast of Taiwan and into the second island chain. You can see it on the map there. And China says it takes, quote, necessary measures, end quote, to defend sovereignty over Taiwan. China said it will not tolerate, quote, separatist activities, end quote, as Taiwan reported a large number of Chinese warplanes and ships around the island. And it continues to implore Beijing to stop the hostilities. Taiwan's defense ministry said earlier on Thursday that over the past 24 hours, it has detected 34 Chinese military aircraft operating around the island, down from 53 from the previous day. However, there were 16 Chinese ships, a rise of 5 from 11 the prior day. Two officials familiar with the security situation in the region told Reuters that the Chinese Navy and Coast Guard boats are gradually moving north, showing signs of pulling back their forces. That said, Chinese keep doing this because one of these times it will be, in fact, a blockade of Taiwan, which would be the precursor to an invasion. Also, 22 of the aircraft crossed the median line and entered Taiwan's northern, southern, and eastern air defense identification zones. So again, very, very provocative, but those are probing to see how Taiwan would react. Out of Australia, a lot of weird stuff coming out of Australia. Remember those, unaccounted for deadly viruses? Seems like nothing's coming of that right now, at least not so far. But also in Australia, Muslims screamed the genocidal Khyber chant at a pro-jihad rally in Sydney. If you don't know what that is, not only is it anti-Semitic, but it's anti-Christian, and it is a call to genocide, what they're screaming at their rallies in Australia. I wonder if anybody's going to be arrested and held accountable. I'll hold my breath. And that brings us now to the Middle East front. As I mentioned last show, there is a valley in southwest Syria called the Valley of the Christians, and many Christians right now are fleeing jihadi-held areas to that valley, and there have been several calls for Western help of that Greek Antiochian community in southwest Syria. And now video is coming out that jihadi factions desecrated the Hagia Sophia Greek Orthodox Church in Hama province's countryside, vandalizing and destroying its contents, as shown in this video. So this is already beginning. These are jihadis linked to ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They're just doing what they say they're doing, following the Quran, and they're coming in and desecrating Christian churches. Is the West? And people ask me again, what do you think about Ukraine? What do you think about Syria, my response is always, where are the Christians? What's happening with the Christians? Let's protect the Christians in those areas. And this valley in particular is not so far from the Israeli lines as Israel has pushed into Syria for that buffer zone after taking Mount Hermon and most of the Golan Heights. So just as an eschatological point here, and I have not heard a lot of people talking about this, the jihadi leader of the HTS factions is Al-Jalani, which means Golani, because he was born in the Golan Heights. And if you don't know where that is, at the base of Mount Hermon, that is also right near where the tribe of Dan had its boundaries. Many of the early church fathers believed that the Antichrist would come from that area specifically. And also, scriptures indicate that the people that destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, ending up being in 70 AD, the Antichrist would come from those people. Well, the Roman legion stationed on the Mount of Olives actually drew its soldiers from exactly that region as well in southern Syria. So, some very interesting things happening there. But the fact of the matter is, there needs to be a call out. What's happening with the Christians? Has United States Special Forces been dispatched to help defend that area? Christian militias are defending their churches there. And this has been something they've done throughout the Middle East. Christian churches will form their own militias and defend the church against jihadi attacks. But how long can they hold out, especially and unfortunately if some of those jihadis have received Western support? Also, Russia is taking a middling approach as it tries to negotiate a deal to remain in post-Assad Syria with the new Syrian transitional authorities. Russia has prepared to move some military assets out of Syria, but has not signaled that a complete withdrawal is imminent. But it has moved its ships offshore, but it is also trying to get some of its cut-off troops back to a centralized area, as we detailed last show. But the fact of the matter is that Russia is still in Syria. At least 14 warplanes were spotted in hangars alongside additional helicopters and aircraft at the Russian air base in, well, we'll just call it K. And President Netanyahu had a message directly to Iran today. Your regime has spent billions of dollars over decades to prop up Hamas, Hezbollah, and Assad. In just a few months, they were all defeated. And to the tune of billions of dollars, by the way, that money could have been spent on roads and hospitals in Iran. Interesting to see what happens here in the next few weeks if Iranian freedom forces band together, bring freedom to that country. Israel announced an open air corridor to Iran now that it has taken out an estimated 86% of Syria's air defense systems. This is after the Israelis in just 72 hours took out the entire Syrian Navy, took out the entire Syrian Air Force, the entire Syrian helicopter force, bombed 80% or so of their weapons depots, took out their chemical weapons and their scientific development, their weapons development labs. The Israelis are really making it happen there, but it was a little alarming when this came out that, quote, the IDF believes this is an opportunity to attack the nuclear facilities in Iran, end quote, and not from just anybody. That was Israeli Army radio. So, could there be an attack in Iran and on Iran in the next couple of weeks? It looks like that may be in the offing. Also, though, this is diplomatic positioning happening as well, so that the Iranians give up their nuclear program. However, by all appearances, they are actually speeding it up right now prior to the inauguration. Israel's Special Task Force, codenamed Nili, tasked with tracking down those responsible for the October 7th massacre, identified 35 terrorists this week. All were eliminated by the IDF. They are hunting them down one by one, similar to what happened when Palestinian terrorists killed a bunch of Israelis at the Olympics decades ago. one by one. And that was in the wake, too, of them hunting down the Nazis that had perpetrated the Holocaust. Erdogan has announced that Ethiopia and Somalia have agreed to resolve their conflicts through a Turkish-mediated peace talk. Notice how Erdogan's really stepping up right now. He called the agreement a new beginning for peace and cooperation. This comes on the heels of Trump announcing that he would recognize Somaliland, a breakaway region from Somalia, but right in that area of Ethiopia. And the two neighbors have been at loggerheads since January when Ethiopia signed a maritime deal with Somaliland so that Ethiopia would have a port which Somalia considers as part of its territory. So this looks like something that Trump will inherit right out of the gate. The fact that Recep Erdogan is there means that there's something else afoot. Now, if you don't know the politics there, Turkey supplied Ethiopia with drones to defeat the communists, the Tigray communists coming down from the north, who appeared to have been emboldened by the Biden administration. What a complicated web weaved in the Middle East. Hamas agrees to key Israeli demands, hostage releases, and ceasefire deal near, ? Hamas has agreed to two of Israel's key conditions in ceasefire negotiations. Also, the names and locations and dispositions of hostages, in other words, are they alive or dead, has been given apparently. So it looks like that there may be a real chance at negotiations this time succeeding. Massive Iranian spy scandal. 30 Israelis working for Iran were arrested for spying. Those individuals, part of 9 covert cells, were accused of plotting assassinations and gathering military intelligence. Recruited through social media, they were reportedly offered money for sabotage, making it one of Israel's worst security breaches in decades. The United States could take a huge lesson from this because those same forces have infiltrated the United States of America. That brings us to a word from our sponsor. And when we come back, the Russia front and the national front, a lot of things happening here in the United States, especially regarding J6 political prisoners.
Hey folks, it's your buddy John Rich here and co-founder of Old Glory Bank. Let me ask you a question. Why would you trust your banking with people that hate you? Well, you shouldn't. We're building a freedom economy, and now we have a pro-America bank. It's called Old Glory Bank. Check it out at oldglorybank.com and open yourself an account today.
Old Glory Bank is a full-service, FDIC-insured online bank with business and consumer banking and customers in all 50 states. It takes just 8 minutes to open an account at oldglorybank.com.
The Donor Deck represents a groundbreaking independent crowdfunding initiative driven by patriots like you to bring back our esteemed President Donald J. Trump to office. With unwavering passion, we pledge all profits from the sale to MAGA Inc. and Fight Like a Flynn PAC. The exquisitely detailed challenge coin is a timeless collectible to be passed down to generations. It symbolizes your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. Get your Donor Deck now. Go to the Patriot.tv store and click on Donor Deck. Enjoy the magnificent artwork and scripture on each playing card, knowing our appreciation for your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. You'll get this keepsake collectible challenge coin acknowledging your support for Donald Trump's run back to the White House, and the Donor Deck of 52 exquisite playing cards, plus a beautiful display case to show your challenge coin. Go to the Patriot.tv store and get your Donor Deck now.
And now the Russia front. Sweden Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Energy Eva Busch stated today that she's, quote, furious with Germany, end quote, for dismantling its nuclear power plants, causing a spike in energy prices in southern Sweden. Southern Sweden has recorded these high prices due to having to send electricity to Germany via undersea power cables. Today, cold weather coupled with no wind, and this is the key weakness of solar and wind. Because it is not good base load power, because when you need it most, the wind isn't blowing or the sun isn't shining, which at least has been recognized by Norwegian politicians who've started a campaign to dismantle undersea power cables with mainland Europe after Germany's decision to scrap its nuclear power plants. Now, there's a very simple solution: small modular nuclear reactors for Norway and Sweden if they want it. Decentralization of power is really the solution to this, and it's the solution here in America. We can have these small modular nuclear reactors outside of major industrial areas and outside of buildings, even with micro reactors, or you can also use hydrogen fuel cells and liquid natural gas, which the United States has at least a 400-year supply reserve of. So, Germany's waking up to this, but it's decentralizing power to the very local level. It's going to be critical. And the Europeans right now are understanding that depending on Germany sometimes is, well, not the best course of action. Also, the NATO chief, Mark Rutte, has given an important speech, but part of this speech that I wanted to highlight here, and J. Michael Waller called out correctly, is that he's talking like Trump 47 is already president because of the influence that he's had there. And also, most NATO countries are now saying, yes, okay, we will abide by our original agreements and have a percentage of our GDP spent on defense. That is now being raised, and most are voluntarily raising them, these thresholds, like Poland. So, seems like Trump is already having a positive effect on NATO. In Germany, Scholz has requested the parliament to hold a vote of confidence in his government on December 16th. He is most likely to lose that, which would result in snap elections on February 23rd, where the right-wing opposition party is forecasted to win it easily. So it looks like a shift, a massive shift, is happening in Europe and in Germany. Also in Westminster in Great Britain, it was completely gridlocked with tractors as far as the eye can see. Guys, take a look at that. No farms. No food. And so this war on farmers, well, it's taking front and center stage, and a lesson for how the environmental movement here in America really has lost its way. And it's lost its way a long time ago when it decided to really be birthed out of socialism. And that brings us now to the national front. Some really good news. Been working on this for years. In the legislature, this was kind of a hot topic back in 2018-19 timeframe. Mandatory vaccinations. Trump said he will consider getting rid of some childhood vaccinations if he thinks they are dangerous or not beneficial. This is the first positive thing on reevaluating the childhood vaccine schedule and what many experts have talked about in regards to its potential health impacts. So, it looks like Make America Healthy Again, well, is not just headed in the right direction, but is getting some traction. From Ezra Cohen, what we see here is another symptom of the complete breakdown in civil-military relations. West Point Public Affairs lied to ProPublica, wrongly saying that Pete Hegseth never even applied to the academy. Hegseth responded with a copy of his 1999 West Point acceptance letter, killing the ProPublica story. I ran into this actually years ago with some Rhino Republicans. And, you know, when somebody has to post their military record like that, because these people haven't done any kind of really due diligence or investigation, well, it just shows their true credibility, which is zero. Also, the Western Journal has the story, quote, "I am honored Trump taps Carrie Lake for huge position where she can shine." What is that position, you say? She will be the next director of the Voice of America. She will be working next to the head of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, who Trump will announce soon. And I love this because there is an information space now is going to be filled with, well, the truth. Praise the Lord. Elon Musk takes aim at Lockheed Martin's F-35 as part of Trump's efficiency efforts. The $2 trillion fighter jet program could be the target of new Doge action. A billionaire with Texas ties and President-elect Trump's ear wants to cut federal funding for the F-35. I think what this is going to actually end up doing is making the defense industry manufacture efficiently and far cheaper than it has been. Just like Trump has done with rockets now, that should come to the defense industry. And so this is really actually a good thing. We do need to have peace through strength, but we also need to be able to manufacture cheaply and without, a $500 screw, for example. Moons over Miami or drones over New Jersey? Mysterious drones still appearing over New Jersey. This was first detailed in the Global Hotspot report. And if you don't know Knightsbridge Intel, they're fantastic. Check them out. The drones are moving in from the direction of the Atlantic Ocean each evening just after dusk, according to many eyewitnesses. And most are around 6 feet in length and operate both with and without lights. This is according to eyewitness testimony, multiple videos. They've been spotted above military installations, critical infrastructure, and at least one Trump-owned golf course, rail lines, bridges, and police departments. I want to stop here. Here's the implication of this in plain speak. A drone Pearl Harbor. If these drones are armed as suicide drones, they could attack U.S. military installations in what would be a drone Pearl Harbor. Alternatively, and I need everybody to really listen to this, and I hope Trump's security is already listening and trying to figure this out. But these drones could be aimed at targeting the President of the United States. What is being put in place, what anti-drone technology is being put in place, is really a key question to ask. And although it is classified, probably they couldn't answer it anyway if they wanted to. The question needs to be raised, could Trump be a target of these? And what's even more alarming is that a congressman came out, and this was yesterday, Fox News, and Representative Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey said Wednesday the drones sighted over his state are a, quote, clear and present danger to the country and specifically to President Trump. They poo-pooed it, they being the FBI, among others. But Van Drew told Fox News on Wednesday, quote, from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off the east coast of the United States of America. They launched drones. I don't say this lightly. Now you know. We know there was a probability it could have been our own government. We know it's not our own government because they would have let us know, Van Drew said. We've got to bring them down. Now, interestingly, no one, it seems, has asked Northcom, whose responsibility is U.S. airspace, to do anything about these drones. According to U.S. Northern Command, their statement regarding the reports of drone activity in New Jersey, Northcom conducted a deliberate analysis of the events in consultation with other military organizations and interagency partners. At this time, we have not been requested to assist with these events. That's weird. And then, according to Epoch Times, and this just came out before we were recording the show here, New Jersey drone sightings are manned aircraft operating lawfully. Wait, 6-foot manned aircraft? Really? That's what the White House is saying. Law enforcement and other agencies have found no indication of malicious activity or intent at this stage. So which is it? The 6-foot drones that are confirmed on video? Or the White House saying these are manned aircraft? Something does not add up here very clearly. Also, new revelations expose shocking incompetence. Secret Service agent fires and misses Trump assassin Ryan Ralph 6 times at point blank range. I pray, and it looks like this has happened, that some of those agents have been moved out and professionals have been moved in. Credible. Kash Patel, quote, Gina Haspel, as director of the CIA, authorized 6 case officers to be paid off to lie to the world where COVID came from because it fit the narrative that Fauci and the media wanted out there. End quote. Well, this raises many questions. And then the question that's obvious is, as FBI director, is he going to investigate that? Prosecutor says CIA analyst accused of leaking Israeli plan to attack Iran was motivated by, quote, ideology. Well, wonder what ideology could be. What could Asif Rahman, what could his ideology be that would motivate that? What could make him be sympathetic to the Islamic Republic and have a devotion to the cause of global jihad? Very interesting. Questions that need to be answered. Also, IG Horowitz releases January 6th report claiming there were... All right, I'm going to stop here for a second. All of us should be very upset with this. There should be a righteous anger here, especially the families of those who are political prisoners in this country. This report claims that the FBI had 26 undercover operatives at the U.S. Capitol. There's a whole slew of videos from this article. Sawyer's going to make sure that this is posted up underneath this radio broadcast. And you got to take a look at this. Pages and pages and pages. But here is probably the most alarming of this. 4 of those undercover agents, 4 of them, entered the U.S. Capitol, and according to Senator Chuck Grassley, well, they have not yet been prosecuted for that crime. A government contractor under orders from the Biden regime was caught hauling away unused border wall sections before Trump takes office, with pieces being sold at bargain basement prices. It's like they're trying to drag us into World War III, and they're trying to drag away the southern border before they leave. Literally, in this case. Why would you do that? Why would you take those things away if you know they're going to be used? Why would you do that? Unless it was intentional to undermine the incoming administration. 500,000 children we can't find. New York City Mayor Adam stuns room full of liberal reporters after meeting with Trump border czar. New York City Mayor Eric Adams stunned a room with that quote. He said after the meeting, from what I have heard from the incoming head of ICE is that we have the same desire to go after those who are committing violent acts, repeated violent acts among innocent New Yorkers and among migration asylum seekers. Wow. So it looks like the mayor of New York City is getting on board the illegal immigration deportation plan. Trump says taming inflation requires energy cost reductions and supply chain overhaul. So tackling energy costs means we need more power generation and we need it done cheaper. Once again, small modular nuclear reactors, hydroelectric power, hydrogen fuel cells, liquid natural gas. Drill, baby, drill. Also, for all of you that were waiting for winter, a polar vortex is upon us. Arctic outbreaks to round out December, mainly, however, in the Midwest and in the East. It's supposed to be mild here in the West. All right. That brings us to a couple quick articles from the regional front. From Idaho Family Policy Center, the Twin Falls Planned Parenthood is closing its doors on December 19th. Thanks to the prayers of the faithful and Idaho's pro-life laws, only one Planned Parenthood now remains in the Gem State, Meridian, Idaho. Great job, Idaho. Also, Lauren Culp from the Sanctuary State of Washington. Klickitat County Sheriff Bob Songer, with over 50 years in law enforcement, pledges active support for ICE and asks other sheriffs to do the same, leading the way. So if Washington can do it, it's for everybody else, so can the rest of the United States. And that is the briefing. Remember, the antidote to dependency and socialism is to be a God-fearing, self-reliant, freedom-loving American. Follow us on Telegram for real-time intelligence analysis and for breaking news. And that brings us now to our guest today, which looks like we got a little bit of technical difficulty right now. We're going to try to get him on here in a second. But we are going to go right now to a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, Pat Wood with Technocracy News.
Patriot TV fans, feel like there's nothing on the radio for like-minded, intelligent people like yourself? Well, great news. Now you can stream Patriot TV on TuneIn during your drive to or from work. Whether you're stuck in traffic or cruising down the highway, you can catch every conversation from your favorite show hosts right in your car. No more mindless jibber-jabber. Tune in 24/7 on the road, at the gym, or wherever you are. Download the free TuneIn app now on Apple, Android, or your computer and never miss a beat. Patriot TV, now on TuneIn.
Now we have it. Kingdom Crunch.
It's important to start breakfast off with a power-packed punch. You want a complete amino acid score, good protein. If you turn the label over and look at the back of the box, there is no added sugars in either one of these flavors, either peanut butter or acai bowl.
Peanut butter has 11 grams of high-quality protein. Acai bowl has 8. Peanut butter has 11 grams of carbohydrate, acai bowl 12, and both of them have a good solid fat content at 6 grams. Very filling, very healthy.
You will be fueling yourself with high-quality fuel, starting off the day right. You can even use Kingdom Crunch as a snack in the middle of the day if you just have a craving and you want to eat something that is good for you, it has a crunch, and doesn't have a lot of calories.
There you go. Diabetic friendly, keto friendly, paleo friendly, Kingdom Crunch, and
child friendly.
And we're back. And before I bring Pat Wood on, I want to just give a quick overview of AI. Are there good things that AI can do? Can it make some repetitive tasks easier? Yes. Is there a huge implication for the workforce in the United States? Absolutely. In fact, the predictions are that it could eliminate up to 80% of accountants. There are people that, like lawyers, who could have some of their practices completely automated by AI, especially in the drafting of briefs and the filing of briefs. There are, if you think about this too, some of healthcare can be automated as well, especially regarding just basic intake and diagnosis. There are many things that AI could do, but that's not the whole story. Every time something gets introduced, we have to run it through a grid, and we can't be Luddites, and that's, you don't know that term. That is somebody that just eschews completely technology in all of its forms. And I kind of think horse and buggy Amish a little bit that way, but we love the Amish. But the grid is, what are the things that we aren't predicting right? What are the things that this could be used for that would be negative? How could this impact all of us in a negative way? And more importantly, and I think for the purpose of our conversation today, how could AI, how could this technocracy be used to control us? And is this conspiracy theory? Well, especially after today with the confirmation that there were 26 FBI agents, according to the IG, at the Capitol, and 4 of them went in. Don't you think all things are possible or potentially possible, and we should investigate? And that brings us to our guest today, Pat Wood, who is the author of Technocracy, but also Technocracy News. And Pat, it's great to have you back on the show. I love that you were literally 20 years ahead of your time exposing this, and now we're there with some of the decisions that are being made regarding AI.
Isn't that interesting? We have many talks, conversations along the way, did we not?
Right.
Even 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we're talking about technocracy.
And in the control mechanisms that they want to impose on each one of us, I think most people think when they type something into a search engine that it's just a legitimately objective search, when in fact, even the search results are being changed by AI.
Exactly. You're experiencing it almost everywhere in society today, including search engines. And by the way, there's only one search engine that I can find in the world that does not filter any news or any sites at all. And believe it or not, it's a former Russian site called Yandex.com. And I often goes there to fish stuff out of the internet, but that's the only one I can find that is basically free from AI.
And with this control mechanisms, like we've been talking about, let's catch everybody up. You broke this years ago. What is technocracy for those who have never even heard that term? And how is technology going to be used as a control mechanism? What are their plans in the future?
Technocracy was originally created at Columbia University in 1932. This was not a political system at all. It was an economic system, and it was in fact, in that time they wanted to do away with the political system altogether. They said they asked FDR to come in and declare himself dictator in order to dismiss Congress and basically appoint technocrats to run everything from the top down. That was crazy. It really was. But they tried it, and the American people eventually saw through it and shooed him away. But today, this is the same ideology that we have today with sustainable development, for instance. That's the same resource-based economic system that we see from the 30s. And it's based on energy as well, carbon tax, carbon cap and trade, etc. So it's still with us at this point, and it's still as radical as it ever was in history. This is what got me excited in the first place. When I saw their radical agenda back then, and I see it today, these people are not telling the truth as we want to hear it.
Well, let's dive a little deeper. What is their radical agenda?
Well, number one is the dissolution of government, basically. In other words, they would control everything by fiat. And this is why AI is the pinnacle of technocratic development at this point, because AI can just control everything without politics being involved. If you can, well, let me hop into maybe like the book of Revelation, and where you have Revelation chapter 13, for instance. The system that was there, you see, there's no politics involved at that point. It's an economic issue. They've removed all government at that point, except for the Antichrist himself, and they're looking to that system that mimics AI at that point. We really don't know until we get there, but the idea of AI is to be able to control everything, everybody, everything that moves, all things, cattle, land, ecosystems, you, me, everything else, without any political involvement at all.
But there really is a political involvement, because whoever programs the AI, right? I mean, that's the bent it's going to have, as we've seen between the difference of Grok and Chat GPT. I mean, we've seen it.
Yes, exactly. We see kind of competing technocrats at the head of these companies. They all have one agenda, obviously, to beat the other companies to AGI, that's called artificial general intelligence. And after that, hopefully, they want to achieve artificial super intelligence, right? Who's going to get it first? Who knows? But whoever does, Klaus Schwab says they'll basically be the masters of the world at that point.
So universal basic income and kind of this idea that was first, at least in modern film, portrayed in Surrogates with Bruce Willis. Kind of, we're all sitting in our homes and we have nothing to really do other than use our surrogates. I mean, it's just like it would all be a video game almost, or an interface.
That's exactly right. You know, this concept of universal basic income, UBI, that started again in the 1930s. They proposed in that day that they were going to issue a uniform energy script to everybody in society. They would make a prediction about the energy that would be supplied to society and basically divide it by the people in the society and give people their credit, their energy script to spend on stuff. That's universal basic income. It's still around us today. And, you know, so there have been so many tests in the last 5-6 years. It just won't quit. You know, they've always failed, basically, but they just won't quit talking about it. So no. It's in our future.
Right. I mean, they just don't give up. They'll step back for a while, but they don't give up. When we come back from the break, Pat Wood, we're going to talk about central bank digital currency, but also kind of the new friends suddenly that President Trump has in the technological sphere.
Attention patriotic businesses. Do you want to see your sales skyrocket by selling your products or services to like-minded patriots? Well, if you're an advertiser who embodies the timeless principles of freedom, liberty, and patriotism, look no further than Patriot TV. Our viewers are responsive, economically active patriots who are committed to supporting businesses like yours that align with their values. For more information on advertising on America's new network of proud American businesses, email us at advertise@patriot.tv.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
You know, if I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. It's showing up more energy, more get up and go, and it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
And we're back with our guest, Pat Wood, Technocracy News. Really the first person that broke this issue years and years ago. Pat, we were just talking about before the break, central bank digital currency. How does this play into technocracy, especially since now Trump has said, nope, he's not going to have anything to do with it?
We have a phenomena going on today. I call it techno-populism. We saw this in Europe, in the UK, in Italy, and Spain, for instance. Techno-populism is the blending of technocracy with populist movements. It's come to America at this point. And we see all of these technocrat forces like Elon Musk, Ramaswamy, David Sachs, Peter Thiel, et cetera. These people have attached themselves to Donald Trump at this point. This will not end well because it didn't end well in Europe for those countries that tried it. But this is what we're facing right now. So having said that, there seems to be, I have a suspicion that there's a war being waged against central banks of the world and the technocrat class of the world. Because, hang on a sec. Got rid of this here. Because you see people like Elon Musk talking about literally ending the Fed.
Yeah.
And, does he have some other alternative behind him to replace that? I don't know. He thinks he does because he's been pursuing payment systems and currencies ever since he was a co-founder of PayPal in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I see this antagonism going on between the technocrat class and what we used to know as the deep state. And you would think the central banks and the BIS and the World Economic Forum, that would all part of what we consider this deep state. But it's almost like these people think at this point that the Elon Musk of the world, remember, he's the richest man in the world now. They have this idea that they can conquer this whole thing, basically wipe out currency and come in and implement a new, asset-based digital currency.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Adam Smith actually talked about this, his real bill theory. They had no way to track that much paper from when something came out of the ground or the air or the water and then was developed into some sort of product. They had no way to track that, but now it seems like we do with computers, and if you can use assets, every kind of asset, to back a currency, it can't be manipulated unless there's only one point in and one point out.
That's exactly right. The issue of certainly is control in the end. When the head of the BIS, Augustine Carsten's his name, when he talks about tracking a $100 bill or a 1,000 peso bill, and he wants to know where it gets spent and what it was spent on, well, this is the same type of mentality that the technocrats have been talking about for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's based first on a universal digital ID that can prove your legal identity, and that's not just a simple legal. Let me back up. A legal identity in the ID world is different than just a social security number. But nevertheless, they want one ID for everybody in the world. That will give them the ability to track everything that's spent and what it was spent for. And if you go back and look at the requirements of original technocracy from the 1930s, 34, 35, you'll see the exact same language when they talk about tracking all consumption and all production, where it went, who did it, maintaining files on people, what their consumption was, and it was all based around resource control.
And really, it seems like now it is still about resource control, but it's old money, the Federal Reserve System, new money, the crypto or digital system. That's where the fight is. Do you think President Trump understands this?
It would seem that he has an understanding of how the world works, but he's willingly appointed these super arch technocrats to these positions of power. You have Elon Musk and Ramaswamy, for instance. These people are going to they say they're going to reorganize the government of the United States. Well, what does that mean? Are they thinking about what they were thinking back in the 30s, or is this something else? I have a hard time separating the person of Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. By the way, he's doubled his wealth since the election. He's now worth $400 billion. That's incredible. In fact, some say he's going to be the first trillionaire in the world. Okay, is this the guy that we want to reorganize our government? He already has his hooks in the government with, for instance, NASA. He's basically taken over the space system right now. Surveillance, the network of satellites he's put up with Starlink. This guy has his hands in everything at this point. So you have to be cautious. Are these people really collectively going to do anything good for us in the end, or are they just basically going to rape, pillage, and plunder our country for the last time?
Well, I mean, these are questions, and getting their motivations out, I think, are fair questions all the way across the board. But definitely, for those of you that have never heard of technocracy before, you just got a crash course in it. Pat Wood, thank you for joining me on Patriot Radio today. Really appreciate all of your work. We're going to have you on again soon, and great to see you upright and in the fight still.
You bet. Thank you, Matt.
God bless you. Pat Wood, Technocracy News. In fact, we almost have on every show, we we have one of their articles. So check it out. If you don't know what technocracy is, starting back in the 1930s and the control mechanisms and everything, get educated. Go to Pat Wood's website and you'll find out all of it. And these are some serious questions. You probably didn't think about that. Well, if they mean pare down the government, does that mean implementing technocracy? Or does it mean actually paring down the government according to a Republican form of government, Republican model of government, as envisioned by George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Sam Adams, John Adams, and the rest of the founders? But probably not Alexander Hamilton. Totally separate issue. And is there a fight between a central bank system and a digital system? And is that what we're really seeing play out right now? Because that's a tectonic shift, if that is in fact the case. And it does look like it is the case. So with all of these things happening and technocracy trying to watch everything we're doing and put results in front of us to modify our behavior, what can you do to actually keep your own privacy and get some truth in your life? Well, based on my own research and talking to experts across the board, there are really 5 search engines that are out there that you can use to get information when you do research. The first is Yandex. I always have a question about it because of the ties to Russia. However, Yandex is one. Quant with a Q, W-A-N-T is another. Private.sh, a cryptographic search engine, really is the only one that I have found that not only doesn't screen anything, it is a raw search engine based on what you put in the search bar. Luxel and Swiss cows. Yes, that is the name. So those 5 search engines are something that you can use and play around with each of them. Some of them, they have a little bit better interfaces, a little bit easier searches than other ones. Play around with them, see which ones you like. But those are the ones that you can make a part of your life. Not only regain your privacy, but get some truth in your searches that is unfiltered. Remember, if you need prayer, please go ahead and click on that QR code. We'd love to pray with you over this holiday season. And if you need to make Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior, you can talk with our folks as well. This is Matt Shea. Thank you for joining me on Patriot Radio today. May God bless all of you. Keep up the fight.